FlossTube. I hope you're having a wonderful day. My name is Shelley. Welcome to my FlossTube channel, OhMyAida. And this is a YouTube channel all about cross stitch. I've been cross stitching a little over a year. I started in June of 2019. But since then, my projects have exploded all over the place. Today is my 14th FlossTube video, and in August I'll have my first FlossTube anniversary, which I am excited about. My last FlossTube video was about dyeing that I've done, so I've taken up more than just cross stitch, and I'll show you that as part of our time together. So you are here for the cross stitch, and I'd love to get started. I'm going to start by recapping Jolly July and my WIPs. Then I'm going to talk about upcoming activities as well as new projects that I've started. The focus piece that I had for Jolly July, I named, this is Joyful Teddy by Joan Elliott. And for those of you, I'm trying to get her straight. Okay. For those of you that know anything about Joan Elliott, not only was July Jolly July, it was also Joan Elliott July. And I worked on Joyful Teddy all for, except for 4 days. When I started, I had the red of the shirt and the blue of the shirt. I did need to fill in a single color for both of those, and I did have the white in the cups. I'll tell you that the first motif that I worked on when I picked this up again was the bird right here. That bird took me 6 hours to stitch. I always seem to struggle when I'm starting a new pattern, but I also struggle when I'm coming back to a WIP that I haven't touched in a while. So I think I did a pretty decent job with this. This section that I'm showing you right here, this is the most stitching that will happen. I have named the bear Eloise, and I did have a gender reveal party for her in one of my previous videos that you can go back and see if you're interested. But my goal with Joyful Teddy is to get her done by November. I want to get her done by November so I can get her framed in the Christmas colors, and so I'll have more options if I go into Michael's during that season. I might actually get her done, December, and that would still be okay. I wouldn't have her out for Christmas, but I would still have her done and framed, and I'd be happy with that. I'm kind of hoping that my mom wants this one. I do love her, but by giving her to my mom, I'll still be able to see her, and she won't take up my wall space, which is fine. I do have room for her, so it's not that big of a deal, but my mom's birthday is right after Christmas, January 4th, and I have trouble coming up with gifts for her. I think this would be a nice gift if she wants it. If she doesn't, that's okay. Another project that I worked on for the last week of June, which also went into July, I worked on Rose Marquis by Long Dog Sampler, and I didn't pull that out to show you because that's my travel piece, and it has a lot of work that still needs to get done, but I am pleased with the progress that I got. The next pattern that I worked on, remember all the patterns that I'm showing you are freebies, and I mentioned in FlossTube 12 where you can get all of these patterns. I really liked the colors in this. And if you watch Dying for Jolly July, you'll know that I was trying to figure out what to stitch it on. I hated this fabric when I saw it out of the hoop. I didn't think it was pretty. I knew it had some purples and blues in it. It wasn't something that I liked. Putting it in the hoop and getting stitches on it, I can see that it's actually giving me the effect that I wanted. So Snow Glass is full coverage, but I'm not going to stitch the sky. I'm going to let the blues and the purples be an Aurora Borealis effect. I worked on this for 4 days. I cannot tell you how many mistakes are in here. I'm leaving it there. I will pick this up again, and I'll talk about that when we get to that stitch. But I did get the outline, and I've got the snow drifts. So I don't have the houses or any of that done. Well, the house, singular, and the trees. So that will come later. I did not worry about frogging this one because I can't, it's snow and it's sky. So I'm okay with fudging that. Oops, I closed the bag when I opened them all deliberately for this FlossTube. Now, the next project that I worked on, let me see if I can find a color picture of this. I do apologize. I didn't look through the bag for the colored picture. I do have black and white. No, I don't have the colored picture. But here in the bottom, you can see how gorgeous the colors are on the bottom of this chart. They're reds and they're blues and they're golds. Now, I was ready to give up on this project several times, mainly because it uses DMC light effects. But once I got the DMC light effects done, and I started stitching the background DMC colors, I was so pleased. And this is what I have. I am almost done. I have less to do than you would think because I have the outlines done. All I need to do is fill in the colors in certain areas. And then this bottom has a strip of blue just like the top. I love this. Working with DMC light effects is a struggle, but I will tell you that it's absolutely worth the pain and the misery. All right. Now, what happened was I was stitching in hand, and as I was stitching in hand, my finger kept rubbing across the light effects, and they are metallics, and it rubbed my finger raw, and I did actually have to start using a thimble, and the thimble helped. It did. Give me just a second to put this away. And I can tell you while I'm putting this away that if you're interested in stitching this one, it's by Solaris Gallery, and there are 2 different colorways. And this was the first one I chose. Oh, of course, here's the picture. This is the one I chose to work on. But now that I've done this one, and I know I can survive the light effects, I'm going to also work on the other one because the picture and showing it to you on YouTube or FlossTube, it does not do the pattern justice. I am so pleased with it. Now, if you've watched any of my YouTube FlossTube videos, you'll know that I had planned to stitch this cupcake. It's a simple cupcake. I planned, and I'm showing you the pattern. I did have to translate it from Anchor to DMC, and it's a free pattern on Debbie Art. Right, all my patterns that I did for Jolly July are free, including Eloise. I won her from a giveaway from Dena Half Stitch Cross Stitch. So even Eloise or Joyful Teddy was a free stitch for me. She wouldn't be a free stitch for you, of course, unless you win her from me when I do a giveaway. In Mania, I was going to have this as a new start, but I didn't have any of the floss, and all the stores were still closed because of COVID. So I did finally get to start this cute little thing, and this is the first project where I've stitched 2 over 2. I love the colors. I find them absolutely stunning. All I have left to do is the frosting and that simple fill-in. This is on 28 count Monaco, and I coffee and tea dyed this with the Stitching with the Housewives tutorial. If I think about it, and I should, I'll go ahead and link that for you in my description box when I upload the video. The next pattern I worked on, and a lot of these patterns got a full week, and then some of the patterns only got one Saturday. All right. The cupcake had 2 Saturdays. Odette Owl, I love her. She is from Brooks Books, and there are 25 Advent animals to choose from. I don't plan on choosing them all. There are some people that are stitching all of them. I already mentioned Dena Half Stitch Cross Stitch. She's stitching all of them as well. But I thought she would go good on this blue material that I dyed. Let me put her up for you. And this is how far I got. I think I'm pretty close to being done. I am going to put the 2020 in there. No, I'm going to put the 20 in there to stand for 2020. Now, the problem with this is I stitched Odette Owl twice. I think I had to frog every single part of her. And while she seems like she would be a quick stitch, and I know some people are only taking 2 days, that took me the entire 6 days to get that far. And because of that, I sort of lost steam with Jolly July. I didn't lose steam with stitching though, because then I just spent more time on Joyful Teddy. I also spent the 24 hours of cross stitch on Joyful Teddy because that's how I restarted her. I started her as a New Year's start, and I had to scrap that after about 4 days of stitching. And then I lost all momentum. But I decided I would give her 24 hours, during 24 hours of cross stitch, which is Jen Lee's channel, Quirks and Stitches. And you can find her on FlossTube as well as Facebook. That got me back into stitching Joyful Teddy. And so also, even though I hadn't planned for the 24 hours of cross stitch during Jolly July, I went ahead, and because I was, I'm not going to say demoralized, but because I was put off by all of the frogging I had to do with Odette Owl, I just jumped into that, and I had a blast because I love stitching. And so while I didn't get to other projects, I don't see that as a failure. The next project I started, which was a Saturday start, so it only got one day, is this beauty. And this is Father Frost's house from Owl Forest. And if you've been wanting to order a kit from Owl Forest, they are back shipping internationally again. I did hear that they're going to be on a 2-week vacation, but I did go on Owl Forest tonight. And if I didn't mention it, today is Friday, July 31st, 2020. So if you're watching this and you're like, oh, I didn't know Owl Forest was shipping again, you can go ahead and jump on whether you want to get this pattern or whether you want to get another pattern or a kit. Right? I find it ironic that I was talking about Eloise, and this was the 3-day start I had on her. I was going to frog it. I still might, but if I have this at my mom's house, she will actually frog it for me. I had my Rose Marquis there, and it was driving her crazy because I had to restart it, but I didn't frog the other part. She took it from me and frogged it. So this is the only fabric I didn't hand dye. This is 20 count silver white Lugana, and I purchased this from 123 Stitch. This is also the fabric I used for Joyful Teddy. To me, this fabric looks more wintry than the opalescent fabrics. But that was my personal choice. If you like the opalescent fabrics, and I love them too, go for what you desire and what you want. I had one more start, and this is a Biscorn U. I didn't have all the flosses, and this was supposed to be one of those 4 or 5 day projects. This is a Christmas Biscorn U. I can't pronounce her name. I think it's Giulia Punti Antici. This is a free pattern on her website. You can go to my FlossTube 12 for it. And I've wanted to stitch a Biscorn U for a long time, but I haven't. But I'm to the point, I do have one thread, but I'm to the point where I'm doing the middle motif, and it's, I'm sorry, let me look. It is Smyrna stitches and diamond eyelet stitches. And I worked on this a little bit tonight when I was on Stitching 911's Zoom meetup. And I do enjoy going to Zoom meetups because you get to meet other people, see what they were working on. And although I'm not in my plan section yet, a lot of not a lot, but there were a few people there working on Pandemic. And I hope you were able to download Pandemic when Long Dog Sampler made it available to everyone. It was there for about a week. I did download it, but I'm still auditioning fabric and thread. From what I've heard about 12 weight sulky, I'm probably going to buy a cone of the sulky thread, and then I'm going to stitch it 1/2. So that means I'll either use a 28 count or a 32 count. I have not used 36 or 40. I know some of you absolutely love it, but I just haven't used it yet. So that's not to say that I'll never use it. It's just to say that I haven't found a need to use it. I do own the 40. I bought a small piece, and I'm going to use that for one of my Christmas projects, one that I paid for. So I do have plans for arbitrary August. I'm going to use the Tiny Decision app, and I know tomorrow is August 1st. So tonight I may fill out the Tiny Decisions app and create a wheel. And I'm also going to buy Pattern Keeper. I plan on downloading it, and then I know I get a 2-week free subscription, and then I'll go ahead and pay for it after that. I have 2 Hades, but I have Rose Marquis, which I won't put in it, but I have Pandemic. And the Pattern Keeper, if you haven't used it, works well with all DMC charts, from what I understand. But again, I've only watched some FlossTube videos on Pattern Keeper. I haven't actually used it yet. So there are quite a few, there's some patterns that I just didn't show you because I didn't work on them. I still have my coffee break, which is Java 365 Sal. I have my sampler, which is Gray Friar Sampler. I'll work on that definitely in September, for Sampler September. I also have a couple others. My Hades are So Many Books, So Little Time. And I also have one of Randall Spangler's houses. I want to say Autumn Nights, but I haven't looked at it in a month or two to actually remember. So all of those will go into my Tiny Decisions app. And most of all, I'm so far behind on the linens and threads, I definitely want to spend quite a bit of time on that. So when I fill out the Tiny Decisions app, what I'm going to do is not just put linens and threads or coffee break, which has 12 different cups of coffee. I'm going to put in finish one motif, finish another motif. So I'll put in the Decision app multiple of the same project for coffee break and for linens and threads Mystery Sal. Now, August 12th is my 1-year FlossTube anniversary, and my first FlossTube was my top 10 of cross stitch, and how cross stitch had changed from the 1980s to 2019. And I thought, now that I've been stitching a little over a year, I'm going to update that. I haven't gone back to rewatch it, and I've already made a list of items that I want to include, and I'll film that, and I'll have that uploaded to come out on the 12th of August, or if that's not my 1-year anniversary, I'll have it come up my 1-year anniversary. I'm excited about that because some of the items I have on it, I've changed my mind about. Now, I told you all the work I did for Jolly July. I used hand-dyed fabric that I dyed. Well, I also started making project bags. And I have 2, these are the backs, both yellow. It just happened that way. I didn't intend that. The fabric with the bows on the bottom, this one, and the red, this was all scraps. Now, I do think the lines up here are going to drive me crazy or batty. These are in no way perfect. They are not perfect, but they are perfect for me. And let me take the pattern out of this one because I'll show you that in just a minute. But I don't like this fabric. I love bee fabric. I thought I had better choices. I didn't. But I love how it came out. Again, is it perfect? No. Is it perfect for me? Yes. So I'm really excited about that. I did buy a fabric cutter that will arrive on Tuesday because I have so much fabric. And last October, I drove from California to New Mexico for the hot air balloon fiesta. And while I was there, I went to a local quilting store and I bought fabric that would remind me about the journey. So I'm glad I practiced on this fabric. And when I get to the fabric that has meaning to me, I'll have some experience and hopefully I'll be a little bit better at the process. All right. I don't know if you watch The Witchy Stitcher. The daughter Morgan has been working on a chart, and if you watch the Sunshine Stitchers, EJ has been working on Moon Goddess. Oh, sorry, Mother Moon. Mother Moon. I plan on stitching this eventually. I wanted to have it. Now, this is also Joan Elliott. I do like Joan Elliott. I like her patterns. I'm telling you about this from me. From my perspective, I'm not really into fairies and angels and winged creatures, which is ironic because I'm going to finish one of my Teresa Winsler fairies that I started and is a UFO. Dena, Half Stitch Cross Stitch, is doing a Teresa Winsler Sal, and so I'm encouraged to break out that old UFO and give it new life, because when I went over it in my second FlossTube video, it was one that I looked at and said, well, there's not much left to do. The problem is I need to get floss. I don't think it'll matter because it's DMC, but I'm now in second quarter, or second half. I'm going to do Stitch from Stash. And it's okay because I don't need patterns, but I don't have a lot of the threads. And the threads I find are what is more expensive. So with that, the pattern, as I already mentioned, is DMC, but I'm going to wait until I really feel a need to start it. The pattern here, Mother Moon, this I found for $15, and I gave myself a $20 budget. So I still have $5, and I'm at the end of the month, and I didn't have any finishes. When I spin my Tiny Decision app, and one of those Christmas ornaments that I was working on comes up, I'll have quite a few of those finished in the next month or two, and that will give me a little bit more so that I have some haul. Let me check my notes. I have gone through everything I have in my notes. Remember, every FFO begins with a first stitch. Don't feel intimidated by a pattern. Just go for it. And with that, happy stitching, everyone. Thanks for joining me.